Yes.
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Okay, so first thing I wanted to take a look at is something I'm seeing a lot of in the events portal, which is this thing where people, not that one, where people will put in the date into the title of the meeting. I'm seeing it less and less because I have been sort of flagging it, but something like this, where we say the name of the meeting and then we say the date. The reason I don't like this is because it's going to always appear right next to the date anyway. There's not really a reason to put in the date or to put in, it's on Monday or anything like that, the time as well. It's always going to appear next to this big flag. So it's a little bit redundant. Instead, what we'd like to do is when we're naming our agendas, we'll give it a name and we'll say it's the name of the board, caps lock, name of the board, so select board maybe, and then the name of any subcommittee that it is hearing. So let's say licensing hearing, for example. You could also do like negotiation subcommittee, or you could do evening meeting or whatever. The name of the like kind of meeting it is, if it's a specific kind of meeting. If there's no specific kind of meeting, you don't need to put anything there. So name of the board, kind of meeting, and then the word meeting at the end. Now, the reason I want meeting at the end is because there are certain scenarios where you're not going to necessarily see that it is a meeting. So sometimes people will see it in that events portal, like we have here, and it's pretty obvious that everything here is a meeting. But sometimes you're going to see it, if I can find where I was, you're going to see it, and I've totally lost my speech. There we are. In somewhere like this, where it doesn't necessarily immediately say meetings. Here it does say meetings, but in some cases it doesn't. For example, if we go to the select board, it doesn't necessarily say that these are all meetings. So having the word meeting in your event title and your agenda title is helpful. You see where we're going with that. Okay, let's make an event. Let's say it's a select board, or actually, I think I was going to do a DEICR as an example. A DEICR licensing hearing. I know that's not a real thing. So we've got the name of the board, the kind of meeting, and a word that means meeting or hearing or whatever. We'll select our agenda type. I'll just give it the test meeting type. Cutoff date and cutoff time, again, doesn't really matter for our purposes right now. It's not really something we'll use, at least for the time being. And then almost all of you are going to do a new one-time event. Here's another thing I'm seeing. We see a lot of events called one-time event, and then they show up in this thing with the words one-time event, like right here. That's not something we want. We want to make sure that both the agenda name and the event name are the same, so that when we see the event in the public portal or on one of these calendars across the site, they'll say this rather than saying one-time event. Another thing we're seeing a lot of is stuff that's in the event category general. So let me see if I can find any, I hate to call people out here, but I'm going to anyway. In the general event category. The problem with this, and sorry to put you on blast there, Chestnut Hill, is that the way we search for particular kinds of meetings from particular boards, is by this event category. So the advisory committee has its own event category, the building commission has its own event category, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so when we put it in a general category, we ensure that it can't be found when people are searching for our own kind of meeting. We want to make sure instead we put it in the category that has to do with our particular meeting. So it could be Commission for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Community Relations. Great. Let's talk about notice in a little bit. Most of the time when you're creating a meeting, you don't need to put in a notice. Again, the notice is only for cancellations, postponements, that kind of thing, canceled due to a lack of quorum, that kind of thing. It's not for this is a hybrid meeting or this is happening on September 8th or whatever. And then we'll add an event time. Breaks, whatever. Last thing to talk about while we're on this creating an event screen is what do we do for our addresses? Now, we've kind of bandied about a few different ways to do this. One thing that I've seen a lot of that I like is things along the lines of virtual meeting, Zoom, in that address bar. Let me see if I can find an example of that. Yeah, virtual public hearing, that's fine. Virtual meeting, Zoom, that'll do fine. Anything that gives you the impression that a totally remote meeting is happening totally remotely over Zoom, perfect. Just put that in that address bar, number one. What if you're doing a meeting where it has a physical location, but also it's on Zoom? Well, we can also accommodate that in the same area. We're just going to use both address bars. So the select board has been doing this in a way that I really like. They're doing an address number one, select board hearing room, 6th floor. Great. That's the physical location. And then an address number two, Brookline Town Hall, comma, and Zoom. So that's going to end up showing up both in that same line. Let's see if we can find the select board meeting just to show off exactly what that's going to look like. Great. So select board hearing room, 6th floor, Brookline Town Hall, and Zoom. So that gets across the idea that it's a physical thing, but it's also on Zoom. And you'll be able to get that Zoom address by clicking through. No, well, they haven't published it. I should have checked this thing beforehand.
Sorry, that won't be till Friday.
This is why you set up your stuff ahead of time. But you'll find it in Airy by clicking through to the agenda. Here we are. Here's one. And there's going to be this big button, click here to register to join meeting, which all of you will have. So if you want to see the physical location, you've got it on the main public portal. If you want to see the Zoom location, register to join the meeting, you're just going to click through to the agenda and it'll always have that link. Okay, let's create this agenda and let's move on a little bit. Any questions so far?
Quick question, James. For my subcommittee meetings, I entered them for the rest of the year and I forgot to use the word meeting. So I was trying to go back to the agendas to open them up somehow to add that word. I couldn't seem to figure out how to do it, and I wonder if it should be through events. Is that how I would edit it?
You've hit the nail on the head. Okay. So this let's go back one step. This right here, I can't select it, but select board meeting, those words, that's propagated from the event name rather than the agenda name. So if you open up yes. Betsy, I think you've already got this, but I'm just gonna walk it through anyway.
Yeah. When you shared it for my other question, it occurred to me I was paying no attention to that events tab. So thank you.
Yeah, and for the most part, you don't need to. There's a couple of random things where you would, but most of the time we're kind of sticking in the meetings tab.
Yep.
So the meetings tab is sort of where agendas live. The events tab is where events live, and events, again, are boxes that we put agendas and agenda packets and minutes and so on into. Most of the time you can create an agenda and an event at the same time, so it doesn't really matter. In this case, though, since that select board meeting, title that's going to appear front and center on all of your events is coming out of the event name, we need to go to the event tab, not the meetings tab on the left here. Find the appropriate event.
You just said equal opportunity objective.
And then click edit event at the very top.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Glad to hear it, Aaron.
Oh, Lori, I think you got a little bit of background noise going on there. What was next on my curriculum? Blah, 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 blah. Great. Okay. So
I do have a quick question. I don't mind being used as an example with the Chestnut Hill commercial area study. I had noticed, because I had gone back in when we ran into that trouble a couple weeks ago where I posted something and it came out really weird. So I was in there sort of double checking settings. And I did notice when I changed it from general to the Chestnut Hill commercial area study community advisory group that it had a duplicate on the calendar.
Okay, interesting. This seems like a troubleshooting thing that we should probably look into afterwards. It doesn't seem like a general thing that I want to train everyone on.
Sure.
But yeah, if you want to stick around for question and answer after, then we can totally go through that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. I'm going to go back where we were. We were talking about how to create agendas with the proper names and the proper things in the proper fields, etc. We've created our agenda, and the event it'll go inside. This is it. I'm going to open it up. And I want to talk about something that appears on every single agenda now, which is the Zoom agenda field. So if you go into your agenda fields, you have this sort of default area here that by default plops in a bunch of stuff for your Zoom, for allowing people to get to your meeting on Zoom or in person. So hopefully you have already put in your address, so it will already have something like, 333 Washington Street, room 103, or something like that. Then every meeting, you're going to have to change this into a link so that people can click to register for your, meeting on that individual meeting. The problem I'm seeing is that some people aren't actually filling this information out. So we end up with literally just make this a link, click here to register for a meeting, but there's no way to click it. Let's at least see what that looks like on the agenda preview. Maybe that'll make my point a little clearer. This is what it ends up looking like at the end of the day, which is awkward. And it's especially awkward because now that is going to end up in our email. So let me show you that. I'm going to try to sort of crop out here. So this is an actual email I received where that field was propagated into the email, and then the email gets sent out with registration links, joined by phone number, etc. We want to make sure that that information is filled out properly before the email is sent out, so that when it is so that when the email is sent out, it has the actual Zoom registration link.
So quick question then. So if anything if I reconfigure that in any way, anything in that box will show up in the email?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, although I hope you're not going to now say, and so I'm going to use that box for some extra additional info.
No, not at all.
Great, because if you'd like to, we can find a way to make it work, but this is not the way to do it. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I'm going to quickly show you how to get that done properly. So I'm in ZoomGov. I'm going to schedule an upcoming meeting. Blah, 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 blah. My settings are a little bit different than yours. I'll make sure the password is required. And now that the meeting is scheduled, I'll hit copy invitation at the bottom here. I can, if I didn't see this initially, I could go back to the meeting, hit it here, and then find copy invitation. So it's always going to be there. And then I want to find the meeting ID and the passcode. But here's a trick. This passcode is all letters. But what I'm looking for is a passcode that's going to be used for phone numbers. So if someone calls in on the phone and hits they call into the Zoom number and then they hit the meeting ID, which is going to be a numeric thing again. They want to be able to type it in on their phone, which only has numbers. So I'm going to scroll down to find the second passcode. This one has numbers in it that can be used on a phone, right? It's the same meeting ID. It's just a numeric passcode instead of the regular kind. I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to copy it into here. Great. This number is always going to be the same. That's just the number to call Zoom. And then I'm going to find my meeting link as well. Where was I?
Just following up on my question. So we also stream through Big for our school committee meetings. So if I could ask Tiffany if that's where she puts her link in for also watch on Brookline Interactive site in that box.
Yeah, Tiffany, is that where you put it in that Zoom link area?
It always floats in there. Let me take a look and get back to your question, Betsy.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And Betsy, if the answer is yes, we can go offline and make it so that that automatically is there most of the time for you.
Yeah, I can put it in. It's no problem. Just want to know.
Gotcha. Okay. Great. Where were we? We were talking about how do we change this link. We want to make this into a link. We don't want the link to be this long gobbledygook thing. So we're going to go find our Zoom link. We'll copy it. You just click this little guy here. Highlight the thing that says make this a link here. So click here to register for a meeting. Highlight the text we want to be the link. And then find a little chain link button. Click it. See, the text is right there. That's the text that's going to be underlined and blue. And we'll paste in the URL there. It's kind of hard to see on this screen because complicated reasons, but it is a link now. And we'll erase this thing that says make this a link. And if there's no address, no physical address, we can erase that too. And let's see what that looks like on our agenda preview once we save it. Great. And it's this nice, beautiful, click here to register for meeting button. It's not a bunch of gobbledygook. Let me show you what I really, really don't want to see. Sometimes I see people grabbing that Zoom link. I'll grab it again. And then pasting it like this. And that is a nightmare. It doesn't look great. It isn't descriptive for people with disabilities. It messes up a lot of formatting. You can see that that's just not a great feel for it. We really want those links to always be nice, friendly text with a link sort of hidden behind them. So click here to register.
What if we're printing this agenda to mail out as a notice?
You're printing the agenda to mail out as a notice. That is a good question. Tiffany, I don't know if you have any good ideas for that, but you might want to add like a bit.ly link. That might be the best way to do it.
How
Tiffany,
did you, when you mailed out the notices before, how did you do it?
We had them on the top of the agenda as a link you could type in for the Zoom.
You mean like
Instead of saying click
kind
here,
of
it
link?
said the,
Yeah, we had that type of link.
Okay.
It was a little shorter because we don't have password, or I didn't have the password option, so it doesn't have as much text.
Sure.
I don't know how many groups are mailing out agendas for notices, but I do think, maybe James and I can get with you later on this, but I think it would be fair to kind of write out the link
Yeah, in
instead
that
of just
case,
saying click here.
but we wouldn't want something as long as this because this is just
Not
no one's
useful.
got that in. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
One-on-one question for later.
Yeah.
That's good.
Great.
Thank you.
Good question though. Okay. Another thing I see a lot while we're talking about these agenda fields or just anything adding into the agenda. Let's actually add this into a different place. Is I see people copying directly from Word into these fields or into any kind of field. So I'm going to copy something here. I've got a CD ICR agenda. I'm going to copy this bit in from Word and we'll see what happens. Straight up copy and paste. Oops. Okay. It's going to ask me if I want to clean up the formatting or keep it. I always want you to clean it, and I'll show you why. Here's what happens if we keep it. So all of the text is going to be in a totally different font, different size. It actually can be a different color even. There's all sorts of weird styling options that are flipped on in that case. And it also might cause issues with pushing the text over into a different area than you expected it to. It could bring in a bulleted list that you didn't expect it to bring in, or a table from Microsoft Word that you didn't expect it to bring in. Let's see what happens if I bring in these things, for example. That's going to cause, I think, some real issues, as it did in my test. Oh, well, I'll find it nicely. Let's try this. I looked at that worse before. But the point is, it's going to cause a bunch of weirdness in the formatting that really ought to be handled by CivicClerk itself. There's two ways, well, three ways to handle it. One way to handle it is to just make sure you hit the clean button every single time. So we want to clean up the formatting. That's going to appear in the same font, in the same size, et cetera, as everything else in CivicClerk does. That is probably the easiest way to do it. The way I do it, because I like to do everything super quick, is I like to paste without formatting, which usually gets the job done just the same. Sometimes you have to add in something like an italics or something like that. You can do that with Control-Shift-V, by the way, if you're not familiar with it. So Control-V is to paste with formatting. Control-Shift-V is to paste without. And finally, let's say, geez, I just copied in a bunch of text that I shouldn't have from Word, and I kept the formatting. Whoops. What can I do? Well, I can select all of my text, and I can go up to this clear formatting / convert to plain text button up here. And it's kind of a last ditch effort, right? Because it's not always going to get everything, but it is going to clear out a lot of that formatting, a lot of the formatting errors in some cases. Really, best case scenario, we want to not do it in the first place. So cleaning that text is going to come out a lot better. Let me see if I can. Here's one scenario where clear formatting is going to do better. So let's keep that text. And then, oh, whoops, I copied in a bunch of text that I shouldn't have with a bunch of formatting I didn't like. Let's convert to plain text, and that'll sort of bring it back into line. Again, ideally, we don't paste it there in the first place. Questions, comments?
When you say you don't paste it, you'd rather just have us typing it in?
Oh, no, what I mean is we don't paste
Paste it in
it.
clean.
Yeah, ideally, we hit the clean button
Okay.
beforehand. And that's going to always do you better. All right. By the way, that also applies to text from Microsoft Outlook. I believe OneDrive will be the same thing. I don't know if Google Docs does the same thing, but basically anytime you get that clean versus keep thing, you want to hit clean. And if you notice that your text is coming in with weird formatting anyway, you want to hit paste as plain text, or paste without formatting. In this case, I think on Google Chrome, it's paste as plain text. Instead of pasting it regularly. We never really want to have things where the text is in a bunch of different formats, different font faces, different sizes, etc.
Mm-hmm. That's helpful because we have all these meetings for our dockets and agendas, and so they live in a Word document up until such time as I, push them in here. So
yeah,
this is helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, it's something we see a lot of, and it kind of when we take the formatting out of from Word and put it in here, it just doesn't play nice, and it ends up looking kind of janky.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now we have this beautiful, beautiful agenda, and we want to publish it. I don't need to say the changes I just did. We want to publish it. A couple of things to think about while we're publishing. We're going to go to our agenda files as usual. We'll create our agenda as usual. Something I like to do, here's the first thing to think about. Something I like to do when I'm making my agendas, when I do on the rare occasion, is give them a version number. So I see a lot of people saying, doing this like, select board agenda, and let's say it's a meeting that's happening on the 9th of September. So select board agenda 9/9. Well, that makes a lot of sense if there's only one of them. But what if I, one day later, say, oh, well, I need to make a new select board agenda for that meeting, like something got updated? Well, there's not really another way to differentiate that, right? 9/9, it's going to end up being the same thing if I use that rubric. So maybe I'll say final. Oh, wait, the next day, there's another change. So I have to say something like select board agenda final, or something like that. You just get into this crazy rut where it's very difficult to figure out exactly what's going on, or how many things were created, or when one thing was created versus another. And the truth is, you don't really even need to say a lot of that information. All you really need to say is, this is the agenda. This is the, what version it is. So version. And then I usually do it by today's date. So this is the agenda as it stood on 9/4, agenda version 9/4. And then maybe the next day, well, geez, there was some change, agenda version 9/5, and so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? That's not mandatory. That's just me trying to give you a little tip to, hopefully avoid some of the nonsense where you can get where you end up with like select board agenda 9/9 final, real, final V2, final V2.3, blah, blah, blah. Great. What do we do when we publish? Blah, 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 blah. We were talking about publishing. Let's talk about publishing, just sending notifications first. So a lot of you have gotten really good at hitting the publish button and selecting the agenda. and then we find, which agenda we want. Let's say this latest one, and then hitting publish and sending out email notifications. That's fantastic. I'll do that. But sometimes I'm seeing multiple versions of the agenda be sent out over the course of time. So I'm seeing like, oh, well, geez, some additional change happened to the agenda. So let's send out a new agenda, and we'll send out a new email notification. This is a problem. And the reason it's a problem is because you don't actually need to send a new agenda, a new notice every time. There's the link that goes to the agenda in your old email for whatever the first email you sent is always going to send you to the latest agenda or the latest agenda packet or the latest minutes or whatever. It's never going to send you to the old version. It's just going to send you to the latest one. So if I send out an email notification on Monday and say, here's my agenda for the meeting that's coming up, and then Tuesday I make a change, and Wednesday I make another change, and now there are 5 different versions of the agenda, but I've published the latest one, the email on Monday is still going to point at whatever the latest version of the agenda I sent out. We don't need to continually go back here, switch the agenda version, and then click send email notifications. All we need to do is come back here, switch the agenda version to whatever the most recent one is, and then hit no. No email notifications, but yes, it is going to publish as amended, and we'll hit publish. You do need to publish. You don't need to send out the extra email notification. Dan, you've got a question.
I'm just making some assumptions here because I don't know how everything works exactly in the background. But I found out that when we notice a meeting, the 48-hour notice that's required needs to list the agenda items that are going to be discussed, and that posting of what's going to be discussed at the meeting needs to be on the town clerk's bulletin board. And I think they only get the notice to post when we notify use the notify me function.
Oh, so you're saying the town clerk. Wait, when you use the notify me function, do you mean the old system?
Or the new one. Like I think they only get the notice in their inbox when it's sent out. So if we make changes to the agenda that we don't send out, they're not going to have one to post. Because I asked them how they get their notice, and they said it shows up in their inbox, and they print it out and post it up.
Gotcha. This is a good question because I see what you mean. Where if there's a new item on the agenda, you want to then make sure it's posted up on the board as well. This is a Tiffany question.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think
this is especially important, I think, just because we ended up having to reschedule a pretty big meeting this week. Because, well, a couple of reasons, but one of them is that we didn't realize like the official, doing air quotes right now with my video off, posting notice for open meeting law qualification is that bulletin board. And
Correct.
so we missed the date basically.
Gotcha.
On the bulletin board.
But going back to the question of resending notifications for an agenda, I do think when you're adding an agenda item, you do want to go ahead and send that re-notification. Where you don't need to send a re-notification is for the agenda packet. So for the select board, actually, all that I do is I send out the notification for the agenda, which they can then click on and then go, take the initiative to go into the packet. But if I add a new attachment to that packet every time, I don't need to send an email every time I've uploaded a new file. But I do think if there are major changes to that agenda in terms of what item or sections are being discussed, you definitely do want to send out those notifications in CivicClerk again.
All right, that's a good distinction there. Okay, great. Any other questions? Does that answer your question, Dan?
Yep, that was helpful. And at some
Okay.
point, I would like confirmation on how town clerk gets those emails.
Yeah, I will reach out to town clerk myself too, just to make sure I have clarity on the process, Dan. And we'll circle back.
That sounds good.
That's helpful. Maybe just a quick question to Tiffany as well, because I think for the school committee, I do what select board does. So our agenda is generally set, but what I'll have after the agenda's been posted is meeting, supplementary or materials that are related to it. So I will, I won't, I guess sometimes I kind of adjust the agenda only to add an item. So it's not really a new section, just an item. And then new attachments. So for those, I would not necessarily send out a new notice, but I do have to, is that right, James? Create the new agenda, create the new packet and publish both, but not send an email?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you need to create them and you need to publish them.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
Did
you.
you say that? I'm sorry. Yeah. I might have spaced on you that last bit. Okay. Great. Had one more item in here. Okay. Let's say we want to only send things to board members. What do we do? Like for example, they need to see an agenda before the public sees it. Well, we can come to the same screen. Again, this is the agenda file screen inside the agenda. And we'll go a little bit down underneath publish to the send function. The send is like, how do I send an email to all of my board members or my subscribers or to individual people about this agenda? I come down to send. So it's going to go to an email list. It can be to, you could do it to board members. I wouldn't use that personally. I would probably just write in the external thing saying, here's board members' email addresses, blah, 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 because not all of the email addresses are necessarily going to be the same as the ones they put into CivicClerk. So I'd do this. Email subject, blah, blah, same thing as you would normally do for any email subject. You can enter whatever you like into the body, and then you can attach an agenda or an agenda packet if we had one, or minutes or whatever to that email. So that's a quick and easy way to do that. If we wanted to send a message to subscribers, so all of the residents, we can do exactly the same thing, except in the email list, we're going to click all subscribers. So this is going to go out to every single person who would normally receive an agenda when it's published on the public portal. And we can even add, again, additional external email addresses. Like if I wanted to make sure that my, Brookline account got it, I could add there. Questions and comments about that?
Can you just go
Yeah,
back and show me how you got there? I'm sorry.
Sure. Sarah, I'll get to you in a sec. So we are, let's go straight from the agenda.
Yeah.
We've been doing our agenda, blah, blah, blah. We added all of this stuff, the sections and the items and so on. We click View Agenda, go to the Files screen, which is the same place that we create our agenda and publish it.
Yeah.
And then we scroll down a little, and there's a Send button.
Right.
So this is a way to send general messages to subscribers or board members. This is something that we've advised people to use. Like if they send out a message that was incorrect, or maybe a meeting got canceled or something, this is what we say. We say, come here, all subscribers, email subject, meeting 9/9 canceled, whatever.
Great, thank you.
Sarah, you had a question.
Yes. So the list of board members is like all their email addresses that are available in this system, or do I need to create that list?
So I would not use that function specifically to email all board members. So if Sarah's talking about this to email list board members thing, that seems really attractive. Like, oh, I could easily email all my board members. That'd be super simple. Unfortunately, not all of the board members entered, I don't know if it was them or someone else, but not all of the emails for board members that were entered into the place where we got all their user information are actually their correct emails. So I wouldn't necessarily rely on this board members list sending out to all of the correct emails.
Okay, and then I had another question, but I forgot it. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Give me a, raise your hand if you have one. I'm gonna check the chat real quick.
James, we can totally come back to this, or you can address it now however you prefer, but is there a way for them to check the board member emails?
Yeah, so this is the emails that it would send to is just their like username emails. So if I were to go to the where I create new users, as you're going to have to do if a new board member comes into your board, I could see it there. So I'll go to my initials up at the top right from any screen, go to settings, user and global settings, users, and then, you know, scroll down and find whoever. And here's a great example. John Caney or Canny, I don't know if that how to pronounce his name, is in the system, but in the previous system where we got all his information from, it was entered as johncanny@fake.com. We don't have a real email for him. And so if you were to email the retirement board, all board members, it would go to johncanny@fake.com, and that is a fake email address, and John Canny would not receive it. Sarah has a question.
Yes, so if you send an email through the system, do you also need to make sure board archives at brooklinema.gov gets the email?
Tiffany question.
So I don't think from the notification perspective, because this is only sending notifications of agenda and agenda packets. And so we already have a record of that here in this system. If
Okay.
you send out that notification and an email chain kind of comes out of that in Outlook, then yes, whoever's the next respondent that notices that board archives is not copied and there's a chat ensuing about an agenda or agenda packet, then you want to copy in board archives.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So again, just to recap, if I wanted to, you know, look at my users, settings, user and global settings, users. Great. Let's go back a bunch of steps to this place. And I want to make sure that I've got all of my stuff done here. I think, yep, I think we've got all the stuff there. Okay, now we've sent out our agenda. We've notified everyone that needs to know about it. Fantastic. Now we have a cancellation. Oh no, the meeting's been canceled or postponed or something. How do we let people know? Again, we can use the send function. So send will let all subscribers know that list is going to be accurate. And then we can say canceled, whatever. And then we also want to let people know who saw it on the public portal, who saw it on one of these calendars all over the website, and who don't get the email necessarily. We want to let them know as well. So we're going to add a notice to the event. I'm going to go to my events tab. I'll find the meeting I wanted. Oh, I've got it. Oh, it's because, okay, I see. I'll find the event I wanted to edit. I think it was on 9/9. There it is. And I'll edit that event and find the notice. Here's the notice and say cancel due to snow. Great. And I'll save my changes there. Now, if I find that event again in my public portal or on any of the places, you know, the calendars on the website, it'll show up in this area here. Here it is. Canceled due to snow. Okay. Questions about that? So again, that was something in the events tab rather than the meetings tab. Events get canceled. Meetings is more about the agenda, not the event. The event is the box that the agenda goes inside. Okay, I'm going to open up the floor to questions and comments more generally right now. I don't know, yeah, we still have 24 people in here. Anything else people have been facing or wondering about, stuff I can help you out with?
Before we get into that real quick, James, just wanted to point out, some of you have probably already received emails independently from James and I, / we've been copying each other. We're going to be going through the public portal a couple of times a week just to look for anything that might look off and send you a note to change those things yourselves and how to do that. Don't feel like, you know, we're trying to attack you or anything like that. We just want to make sure there's some cohesion in how these things are being presented. Nothing you need to apologize for, but we do ask that you go ahead and fix those things when you receive that email from us and make those changes for future agendas and events. So sorry, James, thank you. Back to you.
Totally, thank you. It's a good note. Yeah, and everyone's getting these. Don't worry. Questions or comments or concerns, anyone?
Well, two things. One, just this is so helpful. Having done now a lot of postings, everything just makes much more sense. So all the information is just really helpful. And if we did another one of these in a month or 6 weeks, I would certainly come as well. So thank you. My only other question was so I know where these meetings sit on when I want to direct people to them, to all our school committee meetings, but there is still on the main page of the website a calendar. And that does kind of link to it, but not in a great way. It doesn't really show the time. You have to open it up and then know to go up to the top right to get, so that on the right, that's what
This guy?
you see, but isn't there something where it says the full calendar? And it brings you to more of a,
Is this what you're talking? Betsy, when's the last time you saw this? Because we've made some changes.
maybe view all events.
Okay. Well, so maybe.
And I don't, oh, there we go. Thank you. So the view all events used to bring me to more of a calendar, and it
Yeah.
would have all the events in it, but it would only show them as 1 hour events. You'd have to click on it and open it up and then know to go to the top right to open up an agenda. And it looks like you've already
Yeah.
maybe handled it.
So you're exactly right. The approach we initially tried to use to get the calendar on this page didn't work out as well as we wanted it to. So we have changed the way that operates. So now the way that you see the event is going to be exactly on this front page is going to be exactly the same as the way it appears on the public portal or the way it appears on the individual board pages. Like here, let's go to the select board page. I'm beating the dead horse here. I know you get it, but exactly the same as here. They're all just going to sort of come from the same place now. We thought we were being clever, and unfortunately we weren't.
Well, I can see what you were trying to do. I did like that calendar in its old format, but in the new, it wasn't really working. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
And one more place, Betsy, on the top panel, when you click on government, you can also click on agendas and minutes, and that's another place where that you can access right to that public portal.
Really?
I find that the front page is helpful for seeing things that are happening today, tomorrow, in the coming week. But if you want to search in greater detail, I usually go to government agendas and minutes and search from there.
Great. And this is, by the way, just a little bottled version of exactly the same calendar. MLM, I'm not actually sure who that is, but go ahead.
Hi, it's Meredith. Sorry.
Oh,
I don't know why
you spoke up earlier too.
So quick question, kind of riffing off of notices, the section under the events where you would indicate like postponed or canceled.
Sure.
And then looking at the Washington Street Complete Streets example, so this is the format, you update the notice portion, but then you also go back and update the title.
So this is something I want to caution against, actually. So let me show you what's happened over here, and we'll come back to that in a second. That's September 4th. Okay. So this is an event on the 4th. There it is, where someone has added a notice. That's great, fantastic. But then they've also changed the title of the meeting. This isn't actually necessary, and the reason is because it's always going to appear right next to that notice. So it should just be exactly the same name. You don't need to edit it at all. And then when people look at it on this front page, or on the page, when a resident see it, they'll see something, I assume. They'll see the name of the meeting and then a big notice that says postponed, new meeting date, whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And then so if you had an example where there was a meeting rescheduled, leave the event on the calendar and just in the notice section, you say rescheduled. And then if you have the date, include it, or if not, you just do what is here and just say new date TBD.
Yeah.
But we don't delete any of the events.
Like that's right. Tiffany, a gut check on that, but that's my feeling is that's the correct way to go about it. Are you still there?
Yes, I agree. Sorry. you and Meredith were speaking at the same time for 1 second there. Meredith, what was the last bit that you said?
So in the instances where meetings postponed or canceled, we don't delete the event. We leave the original event posting and just update the notice section with the status.
Yes, if you've already noticed that meeting and published the agenda for it, then yes, I would leave the meeting there and then add the notice that's postponed or continued or whatever it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
Helpful. Thank you.
So it'll effectively have 2 meetings on the calendar. Okay. More questions. Jonathan.
Hi. Yeah. So for the Washington Street Complete Streets meeting, will you put that under transportation board, the category? Because that subscriber list sort of captures the most amount of people, but we'd like to add the same subscriber list and include the people that are signed up for the Pedestrian Advisory Committee, Shared Mobility Advisory Committee, and Bicycle Advisory Committee. Is there a clean way to do that, or should we make a new board for these sort of temporary events that pop up from time to time?
Right. Yeah, no, this is a great question. Is this going to be something that you have a few different meetings about, the Washington Street thing?
So there's 3 more of these, and then in the future, if there are meetings that are like a design review committee for certain work being done, we'll want a similar notification system set up.
Yeah. So one way you can do that, and we might have to sort of play around with the best way to make this happen over time. There are a couple factors that I'm not really sure of. But one way to do that would be to say, I'm going to create a new meeting type. I'll copy a meeting type. I'll give it a name, Washington or Transportation Board thing, Washington Street meeting type. Okay. And then I'll copy whatever the most similar kind of meeting type is. So let's say the Transportation Board one. And we'll save our changes. That's going to create a new meeting type that is still within the Transportation Board. So a board can have multiple different meeting types. It'll create a new meeting type within the Transportation Board with all the same settings. Washington here. And then what we want to do is change this subscriber list. This is the one in the middle. And we can actually add multiple different subscriber lists that get a that get an email every single time you have a Washington Street meeting type. So we'll go to edit. We'll go to our notification views. This is editing the meeting type of Washington Street meeting. And we'll edit the subscription list here. Let's say, what else did you want? You wanted to have like pedestrian advisory committee and
Bicycle Advisory Committee and Shared Mobility Advisory.
Great. Okay, so now I'm going to delete this later because I did it really sloppily just for the example. But now, let's say I have created that meeting type and I've edited all of the other things that I needed to edit to make the meeting type really sing. Now, when I create a new agenda, I'll give it the Washington Street thing. I'll give it that meeting type that we just added. Like a one-time event category, transportation. It'll still be under the Transportation Board, of course, because that's the whole board, not just the kind of meeting. And then when I go to agenda files, create it and publish it, it'll automatically send out to all of the different notification groups, email subscription lists that I selected earlier. Does that work?
So since this board is still categorized under Transportation Board, when the agenda is generated, will it show the Transportation Board members as the meeting or as the board members still? Because for like this design review committee, or would that change as well with this new meeting type? Would we be able to
like I said, I
that?
did it very quickly and sloppily, so I didn't change any of the other things that you'd probably want to change. But that is one of the things you can up. Yes.
Okay. Okay,
So
sweet.
I could go for every meeting tape that you have, I could change the board members. I could change, I guess you really wouldn't want to change this, but you might want to change the physical address. I could call this probably a Washington Street meeting, et cetera, et cetera. I could create a set of default agenda fields, default ways the agenda looks for every single meeting type.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I'm very, very happy to walk through that with you. I understand I just threw a lot of like kind of abstract stuff with you. So for the first couple ones you want to do, give me a call. Let's set them up together and I can make those agendas sing, okay?
Sweet, thank you.
Cool, yeah. I've got another one from Meredith.
So kind of riffing off of Jonathan's question, I think, and this is a little bit beyond the pale and the scope of what we're talking about and just sort of board and committee agenda notifications, but I had this really exciting aha moment when I was posting the agenda for an upcoming meeting on September 16th for the Chestnut Hill Community Advisory Group, where in the past, you'd have to kind of create an agenda to post the event when you really just were trying to set expectations for people and have a list of all the upcoming meetings readily available for people to pop in their calendars. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't technically need an agenda, so I can take my time with that. Whereas before I'd have to do a draft and then you'd update it. And then similarly, now that we have the ability to just post events on the calendar without having it tied to all this to say, like, for the Washington Street Complete Streets, that's a project that people might specifically be interested in following, who aren't interested in keeping tabs on the transportation board or all of the subcommittees there. Is there going to be the opportunity for us to, like, for example, we have a parking study we're doing in Coolidge Corner that has a bunch of public workshops coming up. Are we going to be able to create notification opportunities specific to a project that people can subscribe to?
Yeah, that is certainly possible if you'd like, yeah. What I will tell you is we do not currently, and I'm not sure if we will obtain this ability, but we do not currently have the ability to create a new list and then pull in a bunch of, like a big list of users to be in that list. So I can't make a totally new list and then say like these 500 individuals will be on that list. What I can do is create a new list and give people directions to subscribe to that list.
Perfect. Okay. That's very exciting. All right. So I can follow up offline with that.
Totally. And that, by the way, the creating of a new email list is something that unfortunately only I can do.
Okay.
Great. Other questions?
If you're not in, is Ben a good contact, or do we just have to
Yeah,
wait till your turn?
Ben and Tiffany are both good contacts for this thing. Ben is more on the technical side, of course, and Tiffany is more on the, best practices, policy, legislative side. Rebecca.
Yeah, I just kind of a little unrelated to what we've been talking about, but one of my coworkers is part-time and she's been unable to get access to CivicClerk. I'm not sure what we can do to get her in the system.
Shoot me an email.
Okay, great. And then I do have a second question. Is there a way to view, like, I know in the old system you could view like all the agendas and see which ones had minutes posted with them. Is there a way to do that with this system?
I'm so sorry, I missed the question. Can you run that by me again?
Yeah, so in the old format, there was a way to kind of view a list of previous meetings and see which ones had meeting minutes attached, and like which meetings were missing minutes. Is there a way to, or like a way to check en masse on which meetings have had minutes posted, instead of having to click through each meeting?
Yeah, I believe so. One sec. I'll make times card view. Yeah, so I'm not sure if there's a way to do that from the public side, which is what we had in the previous system where the public would look at that.
Right.
But from our side, you can look at just the card view.
Okay.
Actually, does it in the list as well? No, it doesn't. Okay. In the card view for all, all agendas, maybe you can say just for a particular kind of agenda. Come on. help me out. You can see, you know, is there an agenda? Well, no, not for this one. Is there an agenda packet? No, but there are minutes, and so on and so forth. And you can see whether they're public or whether, I think it shows if they're on the board portal as well, but that's not something we're using. So yeah,
Okay.
if it says public, great, it's up. If it does not say public, then they're not.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. More questions and comments?
I think you might have already had the question answered, but I forgot. Is there a calendar view, or is this the closest we get now is with tiles?
A calendar view for like
The
for
meeting
a
scheduled
resident
for a
or?
month. Like all the town meetings scheduled for a month.
Oh, for if I'm a resident and I want to know what's going on in town for the next month.
Yeah, and I use it to try and figure out when there's opportunity to have more meetings to try not to conflict anybody.
Sure, totally. So that's available in a number of different places. I think the most obvious is right on the front page, brooklynma.gov. So there's this big calendar and events thing. Oh, I see what you mean by calendar view, though. Okay. Probably what you want to use is go to the, I don't think board, oh, it's the same thing, yeah. Go to agendas and minutes under the government tab. Board calendars is the same exact thing, by the way. And then I realize it doesn't show like all of the stuff inside the calendar in the same way that we had before, but this does show you what things have events on them. You see how the ones with events are bolded and the ones without events are not?
Yep, not as useful, but still nice to see it there.
Yep, I hear you. Okay. I'm going to stick around for a little while if anyone wants to continue, you know, asking questions, or anyone had anything that would take a little longer to go into. I don't think I've got anything going on my calendar. Quite sure. Yeah, no, I've got nothing going on in the calendar, and I've got the next half hour blocked out just for this. But if you want to get going by at this point, totally fine. Thanks so much for coming. And this recording is going to be available online in the same place as the other ones. I'll also send it out to the email list.
Thanks, James. It was really helpful.
Hey, no problem.
Thanks, James. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Last thing, guys. I'm going to be putting up tips of the week on the internal website, on that big like news thing on the internal website. Probably also send them out over email every week so that they'll cover some of the same material. And you can find all of those things, all materials that I create on our new Team Dynamics support page, which will also be linked from the intranet, the internal website. So you'll see them there. Hooray, figured it out. Have a good one.